top 40 Husker lists. And we've done this now for a number of years, where we've gone through like our top 40 list of players. And, you know, our number one player overall was Dylan Raiola. 4 of us had Raiola in 1. Sipple had him 2.
Did I have him 2?
Yeah. And your number 1 vote, Sipple, was Isaac Gifford. And to kind of put it in comparison, I had Gifford 8. Robin had him 5. Abby had him 11. So you were the outlier. Sipple was the only person that had his top 5 actually appear in the top 5, but a lot of it had to do with his Isaac Gifford number 1 vote bumped Isaac Gifford into the number 5 spot.
You skewed the voting.
Interesting.
We've removed some people from these votes over the years because they skewed the voting. And
yeah, I was removed at the Journal-Star. They wouldn't often let me do stuff like that because of just sort of the laziness I would exhibit. Not laziness or lack of interest, because it's hard to rank. I mean, it's really hard to rank players. But I felt good about Gifford number 1 because he had 86 tackles and led the team in tackles by 31. And he's, you know, I mean, I just kind of go with proven. I like proven. I did put Raiola number 2, though. I think I felt a lot of pressure to do so.
More often than not, quarterback is going to be number 1 because
Right.
there's no single position that dictates a team's success more than quarterback. So inherently, based off the criteria of this list, quarterback naturally takes the number 1 spot.
Jeff Sims, I think, was 1 last year.
He was 1 last year, and look, he was bad. And look what happened.
Sipple's like, look at that, he's waving his beard.
So, okay, I think I can see the Gifford. I mean, I had him 5. I had him in my top 5.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that had to do with just the leadership component. And his proven production last year, being the leading tackler speaks for itself, but just the way that he's kind of become the face of that secondary. I mean, he's a media day selection. When Cooper, that news broke, who was the first player to publicly tweet it out and posted that thing about, weathering tough times or whatever it was. Like, that to me kind of speaks volumes about his role off the field being just important as it is, maybe even more so than it is on the field, just because of the leadership and the way that guys look to him, especially during tough times.
Yeah, I had Hutmacher number 2.
Okay.
And he finished number 2. I had Jamal Banks at 4, and he was our 3rd. You had Banks at 3. Robin had him at 8. Abby at 2. I'm curious, Robin, on Banks, why you were, a guy that could be 1,000-yard receiver this year. What kind of led you to
explain yourself,
8?
Rob?
Not a leading question by any means by me, Your Honor.
Well, I mean, I basically led more with defensive guys. I had Raiola 1, then Nash 2. Then I had Ben. I was the highest on Ben Scott. I had him 3rd overall. But then, I just had him kind of right in that mix of Fedoni, Gifford, Banks, and a lot of it's just because he just hasn't done it here yet. I mean, I certainly think that he's capable of being their number 1 guy, one of the better receivers Nebraska's had in a few years here, but I leaned more towards guys that I'd seen do it at Nebraska.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It's very subjective in nature. These things are very subjective.
It is. And you could easily talk me into putting him higher.
I will say, though, our top 11, so there were only 11 players that received a top 10 vote.
Oh, is that right?
So we were pretty together on the top 11. Dylan Raiola.
That surprises
Nash. Well, yeah, because you're always going to get one outlier. Like Robin had John Bullock at 12, and he finished he's 19th on the list. I had Bullock at 32. So like
that's a big discrepancy.
Big discrepancy on John Bullock.
Think about that. That's a 20-spot discrepancy. Player.
I had Ramir Johnson at 16. I probably had him a little high.
Would you have Bullock Sip? Do you remember?
I don't remember. Higher than Sean.
Can't remember where he ended up. But my reasoning for having him as high as he is because I think he's the most proven commodity at the most questionable position on the defense right now, where his return was pretty critical and I don't think got talked about enough. And he did it for 1 year, but now he's got a whole year of experience playing linebacker, whereas a year ago this time he was just transitioning from defensive back into linebacker. So now he gives you that experience, that leadership, and kind of the proven production that it's going to be pretty critical.
Yeah, I think he was a 51 tackle. I think.
And Sip, you had him at 14.
Yeah.
And the other real big outlier was Emmett Johnson. You could have probably been a little higher. Finished 14th. I had him at 13. Abby had him at 10. You had him at 16. Robin had Emmett Johnson at 26.
Wow.
Again, a lot of that running back room, I don't know what to know, but think about it. What if Gabe Irvin comes in and is just a dude? Like,
no, you're right. It could change in one.
The same
one
thing
scrimmage.
with our cornerbacks too. Like outside of Tommy Hill, like we were all over the board on that one. Where Abby had Bly Hill 20, Sip didn't even have him rated. So I mean, like
oversight.
Well,
see, you're right. Now Sipple, you had Teddy Prohaska 21, and I had him at 11. Robin had him at 11. Abby had him at 9. Still finishes at 11 on the list. So that's where Robin.
Where did I have him?
21
okay.
As the left tackle for a drop back quarterback. So like,
this is where you call into question. So we're basically just ranking not even the guys. We're just ranking positions.
Value. That's what value.
You make it sound like that.
Value.
If a quarterback,
who's behind Teddy Prohaska?
Are you will the team possibly Corcoran?
I don't know, but I don't. I mean, I'm not going to rate him just because he's the left tackle.
I rank him as value to the team.
Yeah. Well,
and so our top 11 though was pretty. I mean, we had a pretty.
I mean, I think you got to watch that though. I mean, just because there's a starting middle linebacker. I mean, they don't really have a middle linebacker, but so he's automatically high. I don't know. I mean, is he any good? I mean, if you just fill a position, you automatically get a high ranking. I don't agree with that if that's the case. And I don't agree with the quarterback discussion that you guys make it sound like you automatically have to rank the quarterback one.
You don't have to. But again,
we rank Jeff Sims number 1. Okay. I mean,
yeah, and again,
say no more.
Why?
I mean,
so if you look at the criteria of what this voting is about, it says the voting criteria was to rank these players based on their importance to the team, overall talent, and future potential for the upcoming season.
Just rank the positions next time, basically.
Okay.
All right. I mean, so our top 11 though:
quarterback
Raiola,
1, and left tackle 2.
Raiola, Hutmacher, Banks 1, 2, 3. Fedoni was 4. Gifford 5. Ben Scott, Jamari Butler, Ty Robinson, Tommy Hill, Bryce Benhart, Teddy Prohaska.
I felt funny ranking Raiola 2, to be honest. You were ranking a guy who's never thrown a pass in a college game second. I mean, you have the benefit right now of that, of this nothing proven.
I have the benefit of hearing what coaches and other people have told me.
Well, we heard the same stuff about Sims. So, I mean, we had that benefit last
year. Yeah, but the throws that Raiola is making, Sims was not making those kind of throws. And I've seen some of the clips from the scrimmages.
You're never going to get me off the fact.
Was Scotty Walden in your column here today talking about, would he have talked about Jeff Sims at the level?
I can't argue your hypothetical.
I'm just saying,
I can't argue hypothetical.
Is there a player on the roster that
changes the season?
If he's good, Nebraska is automatically better. If he's bad, Nebraska is automatically worse. More than Dylan Raiola.
Well, I suppose not, but
that's what it was for me.
I mean, I can't argue against him too vehemently because I ranked him number 2.
Right.
And I can't argue him against him vehemently because he hasn't thrown a pass yet. So I don't know. If he throws 3 interceptions in the first game, are you going to come back and say, Sip, see, I guess you were right? No, you won't. I mean, it doesn't work like that. I get it. But that we'll see. It'll play itself out.